John Peterson here today, literally fresh off the plane from Alaska, a long weekend trip, Thanksgiving weekend. You guys spent up there with the 3-game stretch against the Aces, and we'll get to the games and how it went down for you guys here in a bit. But I know you said you just got back in town like 3 o'clock this morning.
Yeah, it was, it feels like it. It was 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon, but it was a 12-hour travel day, 14-hour travel day, and just when you're getting used to the Alaskan time zone being 3 hours behind us here in Evansville, now you got to jump right back and get used to the central time zone again. So that's the hardest part. I think I had the weirdest night of sleep I've ever had as far as 3 naps and no actual significant time sleeping last night. It was time to play catch-up a little bit. Yeah,
and you guys have a game tonight, so you won't have time to catch up just yet, but hopefully by some point in time you'll be able to. Let's talk about the games. 3-game stretch, 2 out of 3 go to the IceMen, which is great. Friday win, Saturday loss, Sunday win, correct?
Yeah.
And I know when we've talked to Coach Sims in the past, he's made mention of, if we can score at least 4 goals, we've got a really good chance at winning. And the Friday night game you scored 4, the Sunday afternoon game or evening game, whatever time it was, I believe 5-3 was the final score there. But Saturday, 4-1, I think it was.
Yeah, Saturday wasn't our night.
Yeah. So what, from your vantage point up there in the booth, and as you watch, and again, you know hockey very well, you've been in the sport for a while. What happened Saturday what happened Friday and Sunday that didn't happen Saturday?
Well, I think Saturday, the Alaska team we saw was a much different team, so I want to give them all the credit. I mean, the IceMen certainly didn't play very well on Saturday right out of the gate, but Alaska was angry with how Friday went, and it wasn't that they wanted revenge, it wasn't that they were doing anything cheap or out of the ordinary or chippy, but the way they played, their coach, I think, challenged them with how poorly Alaska played on Friday to come out and play better on Saturday, and so we saw a different team, and we were quite frankly weren't ready for it from a physical standpoint, because they came around and hit us, all over the ice in the first period, and outchanced us and got ahead. And once we were behind, it was one of those things that it was tough to come back on. Friday and Sunday we played very well for most of the game. I think scoring is contagious, and I know that's cliche in any sport, but I truly believe that. And the IceMen, who have been struggling to score for a lot of the season so far, as of late, the last couple weeks have figured it out. And there were 4 different goal scorers on Friday, all in the second period. So it was just bang, 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 bang. The IceMen all of a sudden go from trailing 2-1 to leading 4-2. And then on Sunday, kind of a similar story. The game was 1-1 going into the second. The IceMen got 4 minutes of a power play to start the period because their player, coach, assistant captain, who
it's a lot of titles.
Didn't make the smartest of decisions. Got teed up after a roughing minor penalty. Got teed up for unsportsmanlike for saying something to the ref. IceMen got 2 power plays to start the second period. Scored on both of them.
Excellent.
And then scored 50 seconds after that. So there were 3 goals in a span of 1:17 in that second period. All of a sudden, you're up 4-1, and we hung on for dear life, but we ended up closing it out on Sunday night. So it's a good weekend overall on the ice.
John Peterson, our guest, the voice of the Evansville IceMen, also a director of broadcasting and media relations for the team. It's Ford and O'Brien, ESPN Evansville 105.3 and online, ESPNEvansville.com. One theme that we've had from the start of the season with Coach has been scoring. Obviously, it's something that's been discussed almost on a weekly basis with him, and not just the scoring, but the fact that there's been so much time spent on opponents' ice, and they just have not been able to get over that hump of putting the puck in the net. Obviously, with the games being in Alaska, we didn't have an opportunity to see it firsthand. We know what we know from the recaps and everything that the team provides. But as far as time on opponents' ice, are they still doing a good job in that regard?
Yeah, and I think if you look at the shots on goal and the stats from Alaska, you have to take it with a grain of salt. And I say that you get that anywhere you go, but sometimes the home off-ice officials will have a little advantage for their team, and every shot you take, you almost have to get 2 shots to get credit for one, and vice versa. If they miss the net, they'll get an extra shot added to their total. So you look at the stats, if you didn't see the game and it looks like we got blown out shots-wise, I don't think that was the case. I think the IceMen are doing a great job still getting scoring chances. There's always room for improvement, obviously, to get more and to put away your really good chances. But definitely signs of improvement the last couple of weeks, because 4 goals against Orlando, we're in the driver's seat to win that game. Didn't happen. Turn around and get 3 on Kalamazoo the next night and win. Go up to Alaska and get 4. Struggled on Saturday, like I said, but then 5 on Sunday. So the trend is going in the right direction for the offense.
Well, one of the things that we're not seeing this season, which is a good thing that we've seen last season, and we know how that went, is turnover rate. I mean, obviously you get guys called up. We have guys out on loan, and that's just the way the minor league system works. But as far as guys just being shipped out and other guys brought in and trying to juggle around and find out who plays well with others and all that kind of stuff, it seems that the core of the roster has kind of come together. Are you noticing that as well? Because you're around these guys day in, day out. You see every game. You call every game. So even when you don't realize that you're seeing things you don't even realize you're seeing, if you know what I mean.
Right. Yeah, and I agree completely. I think this is a closer group this year than what I was told about from last year. Obviously, I wasn't here, but I heard that there was some issues in the locker room throughout the year and a lot of turnover going up and down from Binghamton. This year, we got so many guys from Binghamton. I'm a little surprised they haven't called anybody up, especially with how poorly Binghamton's been playing this year at that level. But there's so much depth from the top down in Ottawa that I think they can afford to ride out who they have until absolutely necessary to pull into Evansville and take some of our guys up. Obviously, we like to see the players succeed in their careers and get to where they want to be, so we understand that part of it. And I'm sure there will be 3 or 4 or 5 guys called up throughout the year still that haven't had their chance yet. Part of it, too, is just when they were sent down to Evansville, we as a team weren't putting up the numbers that we probably could have on the offensive end like we've talked about. I think that's affected a little bit those guys not getting the call up yet. Now that we're starting to put up numbers, we've won 3 of our last 4. Binghamton's really struggling. You know, if things keep trending those directions, we might see some turnover. But the nice thing is the core group of leaders that have been with us for a while, the Jarrett Lukens and John Carlson, who we brought over from Sweden, and Spencer Humphreys, and those guys, they're great leaders, and they have this locker room gelling. And we noticed that in Alaska too, that the guys just all seem to get along, and that certainly helps. I mean, it goes a long way when it comes to your performance on the ice if you have a group that's got good chemistry. So that's something that I think is night and day different from last year, from what I heard.
Well, with a trip to Alaska, I think you either bond or you fight. You find out if those guys are going to get along or not. The scoring thing Ryan has brought up already on something that we talked to Coach Sims, like Ryan said, week in and week out, scoring wise. But you know the game very well. Obviously, they're scoring more, they're playing better, but that just does that just come with playing together longer? Is that what the case is?
Yeah, it does. I think it really does, and I think now that the line combinations that we've gone with the last couple of weeks have stuck, we've noticed those specific pairings, those specific line combinations are building that chemistry together on the ice. So when they're out there on their shifts, they know where each other's going to be, and that just comes with playing with each other for a lengthy period of time. We've played a lot of good teams too. I mean, we look at the records of some of these teams we played, and we're thinking, okay, well, this might be our chance to get a win. Then we find out that they're much better than their record is. It's a highly competitive league this year, so it's been a little bit surprising from that regard that, we run into a team like Alaska last week here at home, and they were riding a 5 or 6 game losing streak or 7 game losing streak, and they came out and just stomped us. And we didn't play our best game, but we have to be ready for everybody in this league, not just the Missouris coming in with a 12 game winning streak. It's everybody you play on a given night is good, and we learned that, I think, real quick. And now that we have that figured out, we can go up to Alaska and be prepared for a 3-game set against a team that may be struggling, but they're pretty good in their own right.
John Peterson, our guest, voice of the Evansville IceMen. It's in the crease. Ford and O'Brien, ESPN Evansville 105.3 and online, ESPNEvansville.com. How are things on the injury front?
Better, much better. We got Matt Zay back, who's a very talented forward, rookie forward that Binghamton sent us early in training camp. He was out with a lower body injury from Education Day. He suffered it, and he was out 3 weeks. Benjamin Diude-Fauvel, my favorite name on the roster. He's working his way back. He was activated from IR as well. Had a little bit of a setback in Alaska, but not significant enough to put him back on IR or anything like that. Jarrett Lukens kind of working his way back. Goaltenders, Scott Grenham's up in Binghamton right now. Whether or not he stays there remains to be seen, but he's healthy again or getting healthy. So Chris Banksberg, our goalie that's on IR, is really the one that we're keeping a close eye on. And from the rest of the roster standpoint, it's, knock on wood, pretty good right now. So obviously you're going to get bumps and bruises throughout the season. That's on any sports team at
Sure.
any level. But
Right.
for us right now, I think it's nice to be getting most of our core guys back and healthy now that we have 7 games in 12 days.
Yeah, Jimmy mentioned just a few minutes ago, that core group, and you've not had a lot of movement so far this season. That could obviously change as the season goes on. As you had said, Nathan Moon is back with the team, a fan favorite from his days previously with the IceMen. How has, now that he's been here for his probably a week or two at this point in time, has he kind of just slid right into that spot and kind of picked up where he left off? I know you weren't here when he was with the team in the first go-around, but it's obviously, a name that fans were happy to see come back. Has he had any, has he just kind of popped right back in?
I think like with any team, having not played with a lot of the guys that are on this current team, there is an adjustment period. But Moon is one of those guys. He's a leader. I mean, he's one of the veterans on the team, and he leads by example. And he's kind of slowly started to get back to where we had him a couple years ago, and he's played really well on a line with Jordan Sims and Justin McDonald, and those three have been paired together for the last several games. Coach Sims likes what he sees with those three, and Moon's picking up quite a few assists, but I know if you talk to him, he's upset with himself because he's hit 3 or 4 posts since coming back to Evansville. He's kind of snake bit a little bit, so he wants to get that first goal, kind of get the ball rolling a little bit there, but I think he's stepped right back into it. His patience on the ice when he has the puck is unbelievable. I mean, he's really good with the puck. He's got really good hands, and he sets up guys. He's a playmaker. So we've liked what we've seen with Nathan, and I think he's going to continue to get back to his old self. He's still getting back into the shape he wants to be in from when he played here last, because he wasn't even allowed to see the ice in Colorado the last couple of weeks he was there. So that's part of the reason he was itching to get out of there. And now we've seen what he can get back to. He's a good player, and he's a good leader for this team.
Game tonight, Missouri, Ford Center, home game. It's college night again, I believe. Earlier start time, 6:15. I know you said that Missouri's riding a 12-game win streak coming into tonight. What else do they bring to the table?
Well,
what concerns you from where you sit?
They're very, very good. I mean, they didn't lose in November, so they're 12-0 in November.
Jeez.
17-2-0-1, and the scary thing about them is, if you get behind, they haven't lost when they've led after the first period. I think they're 13-0 when leading after the first, 6-0 when leading after the first period, 13-0 when leading after the second. So you have to get ahead of this team. Even if you get ahead of them, they're still good at coming back. And they have 2 very good goalies. They have 2 scorers that have 23 or more points in 14 games or 15 games, whatever it is. And that they've, as a team, played 20 games, but some of those guys are putting up huge numbers. And I think there's one really strong line to watch out for with Missouri, and then good goaltending. And if you have good goaltending, you can beat anybody.
Wins you a lot of games.
That is huge. And so the IceMen just have to find a way to score against this team, and if they can get a lead, nobody's invincible. Missouri's riding that 12-game streak. They may be hot, but that's a perfect time to catch a team sometimes, is to try to knock them off their wheel a little bit, especially when Missouri's coming in here and seeing the IceMen, who are 6-10, standing across the way. If they get overconfident, it might be an opportunity to catch them. So it'll be an interesting game tonight. I don't know what to expect. I don't have a prediction. I don't.
That's fine.
One way or the other, but I think if the IceMen can get out and have a good start, which has been an issue at points throughout the year, they very much have a chance to beat this team. It's just a matter of not getting behind early, falling down 2-0, and then having to catch up the rest of the way.
Well, you can still get tickets at the Ford Center box office up until the start of the game. Again, earlier start tonight, 6:15 for the IceMen and the Missouri Mavericks. John will have the call on the Evansville IceMen website, evansville.youtube.com. John, always a pleasure, and we'll talk again sometime soon.
Thanks for having me.